Hey guys, Darren here, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to another trade mode. Heading into round 16, it is the final buy round. It's finally here. Uh, it feels like we've been talking about this round for at least half the season, ever since we sort of started getting into these mid-season buys. But I am glad it's finally here, so we can get it out of the way. We should be well and truly prepared for this round, as it's something we've been talking about for so long. But it's probably also the final round where we're going to see some major ranking movements, just because, again, every team is so dependent on your buy structure. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to have a completed team going into next week, back into 22. So the point differential next week is going to be quite minimum. So it is quite difficult to make up rankings when it comes to the run home, because everyone has such good completed teams. You realistically just need to jump on those players and have the guys that have the best fixtures that can put up these big ceiling scores to make up those points, and just be on the right premiums at the right time to really continue to improve your scores and continue to move up the rankings. So it can be pretty tough, especially if you're a little ways back. This is probably your last week to make a lot of jumps. So if that's what you're looking to do, try and do your best, but obviously try not to hinder yourself too much going into best 22 next week. But that's all I really want to talk about off the top. Let's get straight into this video, talking about the trade in and trade out players, as we always do. So I'll start with the trade out players this week. And I think it's, again, pretty straightforward. Obviously, again, a lot of people are pretty heavy in round 16, so some coaches will have to make some pretty tough calls with some certain premiums here and there. I think there's some pretty obvious ones that have not been put up performing as they probably should, and that they definitely should be considering trading them out. But some other people may have a few others that have been performing quite extremely well, and you've probably got too many. I'd say I'll put a line: if you have 6 or more premiums on this buy, I think you're really going to have a tough week, and I think you should probably try and at least get one of them out of your team. So it may be a tough call. So yeah, try and do your best you can there. But I think 6 is probably too many. I think 5 is probably that sweet spot realistically. I know my team specifically, I've got 4 currently. I'm exploring even trading out and getting down to 3. So yeah, you may struggle and move back in the rankings a little bit this week if you're quite heavy, because we are obviously seeing quite a lot of these big dog premiums that are on the buy this week, which is going to be interesting to see how that sort of eventuates. Lockie Whitfield, obviously he's concussed anyway, but he's still been a major premium so far this year. Tom Green's quite unique, but he's also there. Zorko Merritt is one I'm referencing to, that if you have him, he's the easy one probably jump off, just with the role change. He's plummeting in price, hasn't been performing, so here's another easy one. I wouldn't be looking to move off Nick Martin. Dunkley is the one I've been referring to as in terms of he's in my team currently, but I'm floating the idea whether I want to trade him or not with his poor performances. Huge McCluggage, if you're one of the unique owners that have him. I don't think anyone has these. Caldwell, Tom Stewart. I know a lot of people have Will Ashcroft, but I think he can also go. Max Holmes is another highly owned one. Obviously, Bailey Smith as well is there. There's so many good guys there. Even Lockie Ash is one that wasn't some reason mentioned in here. Wish there was a way I could do both buy and average just to be able to show a bit better, but it is what it is. Can't have all nice things. I'm looking forward to seeing how the remodel of this goes next year, because I think it'll be quite beneficial. But yeah, it'll be very interesting this week to see how a lot of people score with a lot of these big dog premiums that have been performing so well for a lot of people and have been quite unique. Lockie Ash is a perfect example of that. How do their teams hold up without him in their side this week? So I'm personally looking forward to it, because I've not been an owner and he's been hurt in my side every single week. So looking forward to this round. But back into the trade out sides. Number 1, I have the Ashcroft brothers. So if you have a Levi Ashcroft, he is definitely up there to go. I think 4.3k coaches are trading him out currently. On the buy, he's been an amazing rookie, as I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, but his time is up. He can go. He gave you a decent one last week with a 79 as a bit of send-off. Did still drop 25k, so a little bit bittersweet there, but yeah, he's got plenty of money in his head. He can go. His brother, Will Ashcroft, is also one I'd jump off. He's just not getting the right numbers to be considered, anywhere close to part of that top 8 midfielders. He's probably a good 10, 15 points off most weeks. So it's just time to go. He's got good money on his head. And yeah, he's been a good solid pick to start the year. Hasn't made a huge amount of money, 76k, but to average 93, I think he was priced around that 82-ish from memory. So he's been a pretty good pick, and has put up some very decent scores. Been super consistent for the most part, but has dropped a few lower ones every now and then, just with some poorer games. But ultimately, been a very good pick, but it's just time for him to go, because you want to get the premiums in your side that are going to be putting up those massive ceilings, which I don't think we've seen quite enough from Will Ashcroft there. So he can give you a lot of different flexibility with your trades. Number 2, I do have Lockie Whitfield there. Very unfortunate for those owners, him going down with that 23 with a concussion. Especially for those that went there with the captaincy, that just destroys your season. Especially because I think it was quite a unique option. I know it was a good option to do. He wasn't quite in my top 5, but yeah, he was looking like he was on track for a pretty big one. Yeah, I think it was on like 23 early on in that. Midway through that first quarter. So, yeah, difficult for owners to swallow, and you definitely want to just throw your phone away and just not even look at fantasy for a little while. So I can sympathise for all those coaches that did go there. Yeah, super unfortunate. But unfortunately, with the concussion, he is now out for obviously this week with a bye. But there's even some question marks around round 17. They do play on the Friday night, I believe. Yeah, Friday night. For some reason there's 2 games on a Friday night. Who knows what's going on there? But yeah, plays Friday night. So he comes out of protocol on that day. So he'll be flying over to West Coast, WA, where he will still be in concussion. So it will be a bit of a tight watch whether he is on the plane or not. But I'm having more of a feeling that with his history of concussions, it's more likely that he misses the game round 17 and just becomes back fresh for round 18, when they do have a pretty big challenge against the Geelong Cats at home. So yeah, I have a feeling that he'll probably miss West Coast, so he's missing the next 2, and he's definitely one that we can you jump off this week. He will be getting a lot cheaper with that 151 break even, so he'll be someone that we can jump on, 2 or 3 weeks down the track once he has got his break even back up and going. So you can jump back on at that stage, because we now are sort of in luxury season. You can sort of do these sideways trades quite simply. So I'd be jumping off if I was an owner at this stage, and it gives you a perfect opportunity to jump off one of these guys that are on the bye this week and improve your numbers, so you're not sort of falling away too much this week, because you definitely could be hurting. So he is there, number 2. Angus Clark is number 3, and he is the most traded out player so far this week, with 12.2k coaches trading him out. I know there's some debate whether he is worth holding just because he looked pretty good. But I just go off the facts that he has a high break even of 35. He's been putting up 40s, so if he puts up another 40, he probably makes 5k, and then he's going to be worth trading out anyway. So it's not really worth me holding him for the next 2 weeks to get nothing out of him. So I'm just going, nah, you can go. He's a simple trade out to an easy downgrade, whether you're going to a McCarthy, or you're going to a Liddy, or even any one of those other downgrade options that we do have a plethora of at the moment. He's an easy one that can go. So he can go there at number 3. Number 4, I do have Miles Bergman at number 4. Just unfortunate for owners that he has obviously come back to his shoulder injury last week, lost his midfield role due to that fact, and he just sort of spent a lot more time at halfback, just not having that body contact. I struggle to imagine that his shoulder is just going to magically become all fixed within a very short week. Obviously, he plays tomorrow night, so Thursday. It's only a very short break in between, so I think that shoulder's still going to give him trouble. So there's probably very little chance that he's going to spend a huge amount of time in the midfield, and that probably means that he's only going to go backwards in terms of his price tag, with a higher break even now of 91. If you are struggling with numbers though this week, I'd just be worth holding on to him. It's more of a luxury trade. If your team's all sorted, you've got 22 premiums, or you've already got 22 numbers this week, he's probably a luxury trade. But yeah, I do think he needs to go at some point. Just with that injury is still a bit of a concern because it could be subbed out at any point, or he could be on loaded duties. But more importantly, he's not probably going to play the role that we've been looking for him to be playing for a big period of time. And the run doesn't even look that great. Carlton this weekend isn't the best matchup, and Brisbane Lions as well next week isn't great. So I think he can go at number 4. Number 5, I've got Dunkley and Merritt there, just as the two guys that have been so underwhelming for probably the last 4 to 6 weeks. Merritt probably more than Dunkley, just with a couple 50s. Obviously had that big 149, which was very nice against a very easy matchup. But more importantly, his role is just shocking. He's not playing nearly as much as full-time mid as he has done in the past 10 years. So that's more than enough of a flag for me to just jump off of him. If he was playing this, halfback role permanently and they weren't moving him off of that, I'd be interested in holding on to him, but he's not doing that, unfortunately. He's been thrown around here, there, and everywhere, whether it's forward, it's on the wing, it's on halfback. He's just being thrown where the ball realistically isn't. So it's a very unusual tactic from Essendon, realistically. He's a ball magnet at heart and has been one of the best midfielders in his decade. So I just don't understand why they're doing it. But we just got to go off the facts, and unfortunately, he is not getting it done. So I think he's an easy one that I'd be jumping off of him if I was an owner. So that's fairly simple to me. The one that I'm struggling with is obviously Josh Dunkley. I'm an owner, and I have this question mark myself. He's a little bit different to Merritt because his role is still the exact same. He's playing as a full-time midfielder. That role is not changing, but in terms of the way he goes about his football, he's playing as a defensive mid, so his first priority isn't hunting the ball. He is usually stopping one of the other damaging mids get the ball. So this week, obviously he's on the bye this week, but we saw him up against Bailey Smith last week, stopping him getting the ball, and obviously he just got on the right end of a few of those, getting a few tackles. 10 tackles doesn't sound super sustainable, but Josh Dunkley has been known to be quite a decent tackler. It's not his first time he's done 10 tackles. He's done it, 3 times this season, and he's already had like 9 and 8 tackles previously. So that doesn't amaze me, but he just hasn't been getting on the right end of the ruck contest for the past sort of 6 weeks. All sub 100s in the last 5 weeks prior to that. And what I sort of think it was is that, or I still think it is that it's Darcy Fort. It's ever since Darcy Fort has come in and taken that main ruck role for off Oscar McInerney, Dunkley's just not getting the ball tapped down to him as much. It's seemingly they're always just searching for a McCluggage or a Neil or Will Ashcroft, all those sort of guys before going to Josh Dunkley, who obviously is doing the defensive work. So that's where I'm really toying up in mind. Do I think Josh Dunkley is going to be someone that returns back to form? I absolutely think he could. There's no doubt about that. But there's still a lot of things that are telling me, well, just off one game, there's no evidence to say that this is going to be him returning back to form and getting back to his 110 plus ways that we all know he can do. So, and the run isn't looking any good either. I think I showed this on earlier video, but I'll show it here anyways. Just looking at Brisbane's run, Port Adelaide, Carlton, Western Bulldogs, Gold Coast, which is the only good matchup he has for the remainder of the year. Then he goes Collingwood, Sydney, Fremantle, and Hawthorn. So he's got 4 tougher ones in there with only 1 decent matchup for the remaining of the year. So that's another figure that I'm looking at. It's like, well, if I don't own him, is he really going to hurt me at the end of the day anyway? And I'm sort of leaning towards he's not going to be one that's going to hurt me. I think he can be a very solid and a very stable 100 average guy, and he may have days where he goes 80 and days he goes 120. But do I think he goes 150 at some point this year? I just don't know if we're seeing that Josh Dunkley anymore, just with this role that he's playing as a defensive mid. He's only gone 130, which was back in round 1. All that, besides that, has all been, this 110, if not sub 100s, which has been a bit disappointing for how good we know he can be. So I'm still leaning to trading him out. I haven't traded him out just yet, but we'll sort of see how that goes. But that is my top 5. Oh, you can probably say top 7 trade out targets, but yeah, no, that's those guys. A couple more that I need to talk about here. Zach Johnson, I don't mind trading him out, but I'm still just playing the break-even game. 9 break-even. Fingers crossed he's holding his spot for next week, coming out of the buyers, but there's no certainty of that, obviously, with a lot of Essendon boys coming back into the side. I probably should pull up the injury list. I thought I did have it up. So after the bye, so you got Sato Hawley, which unlikely, but you definitely got Langford. You've definitely got Redmond. You definitely got Zach Reed, and you definitely got Jordan Ridley. So they've got a fair few defenders coming back into the side. Whether they all come back in instantly is undetermined. Obviously, this is as of yesterday, so they've still got one more week of their injuries, but they'll probably have to go through a fitness test or running through more tests and stuff like that to determine if they're 100% back. So I don't mind people trading him out. I'm just playing the break-even game. If he doesn't make up for the teams next week, I could easily trade him out next week anyway. So just playing a bit more of that game. So I don't mind people trading him out. Kaku can definitely go. It's been a funny ride, but yeah, he can go. Been a very slow grind. Been a bit of a failed pick, I must say. So unfortunate, but not playing in the right team. Boxshaw, if you have the luxury of trading him out, I definitely would recommend it. But yeah, if he's not going to give you a huge amount of coin to get to where you want to be. Lohman, I don't mind going as well. Again, just playing the break-even game. He's got a higher break-even of 29. He could easily drop a 30 at any point. He's got Port Adelaide after their bye, so it could be a bit of an up and down game whether Port Adelaide show up or not. So we'll have to wait and see, but I don't mind trading him out. Like I said, I'm not trading out Nick Martin or Max Holmes. I think both of them are easily best 22. Best 6 of their line for the remainder of the year. Max Holmes with the run home is pretty phenomenal with playing Richmond twice for the remainder of the season. You got St Kilda and then North, Essendon. Very good matchups coming up. So definitely won't be jumping off him with how good he has been for the last period of time. Nick Martin, I've floated the idea of looking at trading out just because he does have a huge amount of money on his head and a higher break even, but at the end of the day, he is by far a huge upgrade in the forward line. He's probably 10 or 15 points better than the sort of the second tier pack. So I just don't think I'm going to be playing in this area with how good he's been, particularly over the last sort of 6 weeks. He did have that poor 85 heading into the bye, but even his run, he's got 2 very good matchups straight out of the bye, and then he's also finishes off with some pretty strong matchups as well with Cats and St Kilda there. So I'm thinking I'm just holding him, and I'd encourage a lot of other people to do that as well. Bias, he can go. He's been sub. Neil, if you're a unique owner, he can go. Like I said, the run isn't there, and he's not nearly top 5. Although I don't see many tags coming his way. Maybe a Drew, maybe a Chincotta, but he hasn't really taken anyone out besides Merritt that 1 week. No one from Bulldogs, no one from Suns, no one from Collingwood. Maybe James Jordan, but that's probably about it for the remainder of the year. So it could definitely be a very unique one. But like I said, the run isn't really there to be jumping on that sort of middling guy that's averaging 90. Sato Hawley, I'd probably be worthwhile holding now, just with him returning 1 more week from injury, so he could potentially be back soon with a lower break even. We know he's a decent scorer, so maybe worthwhile holding. Cooper Simpson can go, Stone can go. Caleb Daniels, an interesting one that I've again floated around the idea of, do I trade him out? Just with, again, 2 poor performances with back-to-back 70s. He's probably, 5-10 points off of that second tier again. Just with all sort of averaging 90s, but it has been against some tougher opponents with Fremantle and Collingwood. Carlton. He does come up against some easier matchups quite shortly, though. They're still a couple of weeks away, but when I'm looking at designated kickers for North, his run's actually pretty decent. Probably one of the best, honestly. Obviously, Hawthorn and Western Bulldogs are the next 2 neutral matchups, but then he goes Melbourne, Sydney, Geelong, and St Kilda, all very decent matchups. So I'm probably more in the hold camp because I feel like he could put up a bit of a pop score against them. And again, I'm still thinking North at some point are going to slow down a little bit. Understand that their probably best interest is to not win too many games because at the end of the day they want better draft picks because they're in this sort of they're still rebuilding, right? So I could see them starting to slow down a little bit and start chipping around a little bit more. So I'm still probably more in the hold camp of Caleb Daniel at this point in time. I don't think he's hurting you, and he doesn't have a huge amount of money on his head at this point. So fingers crossed he can just get the job done for the next couple of weeks going into that better matchup. But I think that probably pretty much does it for the trade out targets. I've gone on plenty long enough for those guys. So we'll move into the trade in targets. I'll start with the what's called the rookie downgrades. So if you don't own Tom McCarthy, he is by far the most must-have player this week. He obviously put up that massive 101 in his first game, and he's been amazing since then. So we'll see how he goes this week against Collingwood, a very tougher matchup. That's the only thing I'll say about bringing him in. He does have some tough matchups coming, but it also could equal good things for him because it means the ball's going to be down his end a lot more. It means more kick-ins for him because that was the role he was playing. He took 10 kick-ins against Colton there. So it's going to spell some good things, but he's also very good cover. So if you are one of the unlucky players of coaches that have one of these teams that aren't going to have a completed team into best 22 again, here's someone that you could definitely rely on to put up, a pretty solid 70, if not 80. We'll reevaluate when it comes after this week, but my gut feeling is that in the role that he's playing in the upcoming matches where he's taking a lot of kick-ins, he's going to be a very safe 70. And I think he could even have the capability to push 80, if not 90, just with the way that he goes about it and gets the ball at the stage. So I think he's definitely one that you can rely on. So he is a must-have, in my opinion. And going Clark to him is definitely a locked-in trade for a lot of coaches this week. My second downgrade title is Manny Liddy, and he's definitely someone that I'm jumping on this week. He does play tomorrow night, so you are locking out that trade pretty early, but I think he's definitely worth it. Showed some pretty promising signs in round 14. Didn't probably get on the right end of the score with just a 42, but round 15 definitely showed his capacity to his running ability and getting in all the right spots. Running through the midfield at times as well. He had, I think, 29. Got it up here already. Where is he? 26% time on the midfield and at centre bounces. Whether that was due to Bergman being injured or not, it's hard to tell. But I definitely feel like he has a decent role, and they're trusting him to go in there already after 2 games is pretty impressive. When you also got Jason Horne-Francis, who only had 21% as well. So yeah, it shows you that they do trust him in there and that they actually trust his ability. So I think his job security is fairly decent. So here's another one that you can lock away. Low break even of -10, sub 300k, perfect time to jump on him. So do that. Number 2. This is where it sort of gets tricky though with the next 3, just because 2 of them are on the bye. So if you are looking to do a triple downgrade this week, and because you probably want both of Rolliston and May, and maybe you can only pick up one next week, or more likely you can only pick up one next week with back to 2 trades, I wouldn't stop you from grabbing one of them this week, just so you have both of them. I do think both of them stay within their side. I don't see that either being dropped. So I don't mind people jumping on them this week. The only trouble though is obviously if you're heavy this week, you're trying to make up as much numbers as you can, so it's probably not the best time. So if you're heavy this week, then maybe look elsewhere. That's where number 5 we've got Taylor Dewar. Hopefully I probably butchered that, but yeah, he's a very interesting option. He's obviously expensive, 464k, but he does have that very nice break even of -14, sorry. He's sort of playing like as a halfback winger sort of type, more on the wing than halfback, but we know that can be very volatile. My gut feeling is I'm not super keen. I feel that it's a very similar situation to Riley Hardiman, I think his first name was. Obviously, he had quite a nice break even of like -4 or something like that, and then he came out with a 30, and that instantly dried up all his cash generation and became a bit of an issue very quickly. So I feel like Dewar could have a very similar situation, especially in a tougher matchup. I'm just not sure the ability is going to be there for him to score, and I'm not sure I'm willing to pay up that extra 200k to jump on this sort of player, even though he could be a very nice cash generating option for a couple of weeks. I just don't know if I'm doing it, unfortunately. So, uh, yeah, so that's why I've got him down at number 5. I probably just prefer the other guys a little bit more, even though they are on the buy. I just think they're much cheaper and they probably have a bit more potential and better roles to be more consistent with their scoring. So, yeah, that's where I sit with the trade-in targets for downgrades. I'll move quickly on to we'll go forwards. I reckon. Why not? All right. So number 1, I've got this guy still at number 1, Matthew Kennedy. I should say it's probably the last week, but it probably won't be. If you still are a non-owner, you need to jump on this dude. He's hurting you too much. Even though he's got some tougher matchups coming, this week, particularly against Sydney Swans, I still think he gets the job done. His role is super consistent, so you might as well just get him. So I'd be paying up that 1.1. It's your final 3 trades of the season. If you have enough cash generation to do it, or you're jumping off another premium that has been underperforming, like a Merit, for example, you could easily jump on this guy because, again, he is part of that A tier forwards that is putting 10, 15 points on top of your team every single week. So you are falling behind quite quickly. So he is number 1. Number 2, I still have Luke Jackson. It's probably the final week you can do it, just with him being under $1 million. I think the prime time was obviously last week coming into that massive matchup. It'll be interesting to see if Sean Darcy comes back and plays this week or whether he just continues to get managed. I could see him coming back in this week, though, because I do think he probably matches up a little bit better against Rowan Marshall. So that will be interesting to see, though. So, but again, he is probably close, probably the 4th one, just behind the 3 big forwards. So again, he's hurting you. He's averaging 95, if not close to 100, and he's got the capacity to go these bigger scores when he's on his game. So I still have him there at number 2. Still a very good run, as I mentioned last week. If you look for Ruckman, he has got St Kilda this week, which is a nice matchup. Sydney, which is normally a nicer matchup. I think what skewed the results a little bit with the Orange is that both the Port Ruckman played last week, so that skewed some numbers. They both went like 30, so neither of them did well. So that skewed the numbers up previously. Hawthorn are normally an easy matchup as well, so quite some decent matchups for them coming up. And even if you look as a midfielder, it has sort of dropped off a little bit. St Kilda normally are a bit of an easy one. Sydney are a normally easy one as well, but these things fluctuate so quickly. Hasn't been as consistent as it has been in the last couple of years. So, but I still like Luke Jackson nonetheless. So might as well jump on him. Jack McRae is there at number 3. Now he is pretty cheap. He's on the cheaper end of 900k. He's come back from injury the last 2 weeks with low time on ground and just getting it done with an 80 and 104 in what has been some tougher matchups. I will say that these two are probably 1 and 2 for toughest matchups at the moment. So to get what he did there, it's pretty good, and he does have some nicer matchups coming up. While it's not immediate, it's definitely coming up in sort of this period of time, particularly from round 19 to round 23. So I think we'll all want to own him for that period of time because we know he has a pretty big ceiling, and we know he's a very consistent sort of player because he's playing in the right role. So yeah, he'd be something I would definitely be targeting in the next period of time. So he is there at number 3. If you can jump on him this week, I would be doing that. Number 4, I've got Petrarca off of his bye. He's coming up against the easiest matchup for midfielders as the Gold Coast Suns, and generally just has a pretty decent run for the next sort of 6 weeks with, Suns, as I mentioned, North, St Kilda, West Coast, just to name a few. But I also thought that some tagging options. Obviously, he's probably the number one tagging option at Melbourne at the moment. So he may come up against a Chincotta or definitely a Windhager, I would say, just in the next couple as well. So it's going to be up and down as it has been for Petrarca for the majority of the season. But again, he's got a pretty high floor. He hasn't dropped below 75 all season. So he's pretty safe and pretty stable there at sort of the F6 spot pretty much all year. So, or F5 even. So I like him there. Number 5, I still have Sam Darcy. I know a lot of people are still trading him into him this week. I'm not a huge fan this week though, just up against Tom McCarthy from Sydney Swans. I do think Tom has some very good capabilities to go with him. I think when I looked back at his scores last year, he only put up like a 47 or something like that. So he doesn't particularly have the best history when it comes to playing against Sydney. He's played them 3 times for an average of the sub 40. That shows it enough that he does not like playing against Sydney Swans. So I'd probably stay clear this week. I think last week was the week to do it when he had the nicer matchups. Even then, I still think he was probably 10 or 15 points under from what I was expecting with that 114. I thought it was an easy 130, if not 140 for him in a very nice matchup. And he probably should have got there. He just had a very poor third quarter where I only think he had 1 touch for like 6 points or something like that. So if he had a subpar third quarter, he would have easily hit a 140. So bit disappointing for those owners. And yeah, lucky for those that didn't jump on. He didn't go massive. But he still has North coming up, Essendon, Melbourne, West Coast. He's in a very good team. They love to score and they love to target him. So I still think he's a viable option, but I'm just not sure you're going to get the reward this week particularly. So I'm probably staying clear. But of the other options, I'm probably more of a fan of him than I am of like a Dylan Moore, for example. I know a few people have asked me whether he's someone I'd target, but I think you're targeting more the name than you are the player now. He's obviously been someone that has been good for the past couple of years, playing in this half forward role, but I haven't seen the consistency from Hawthorn particularly that they're using that game style where he's being able to get plenty of marks and get on the end of some goals as well. He has not been anywhere near his best when it comes to goal kicking. So for those sort of reasons, I'm just staying away because I still think he's not anywhere near top 6 at this stage. And the run isn't particularly good either. I know these next 2 are okay, but then does come up against some tougher opponents with Fremantle. Port Adelaide, we know they love to show up against Hawthorn. A Colt never going to turn it around. Probably not. Who knows? And then the tougher matchups in the final 3 are there. So I'm just staying clear. Jason Horne-Francis, probably another one that could have made the list, but just with that injury concern, not playing the right role, low time on ground. Again, I'm probably just staying clear for a little while longer until he sort of bottoms out, so he can stay out of the top 5. Rankin, now it sounds weirdly odd, but I don't mind it as a trade-in. Obviously, he's got Richmond this week, so it could be a very nice pop score, which I'm hoping as an owner he is a bit more unique. Now, a lot of people trade him out, so I'm hoping some reward comes that way. But he also has Melbourne and then Suns in 2 weeks' time as well after that. So I'm hoping for the next 4 weeks he can, match it with the top 6 forwards for the year. But after that, it does become a bit tough. Not even exactly. He's got Eagles and North to finish off the year, so he's probably someone I'll just hold on to the remainder of the year. He can probably get it done. I would like to see more CBAs, but hopefully the break has done him good and he can get back into that midfield and doing what he did at the start of the year. So, yeah, I don't mind him as a trading option if you're looking for someone a bit more unique now. But I think that'll sort of do it for the forward options. I don't think I really need to talk about anyone else there. Ben Keys, again, just falls into that category where he's been good, but he's capable of putting up these very poor scores. So, again, I'm not sure if I see him being part of the top guys, and he's not super cheap. He's still 750k, so for 80k more, I'd probably feel going to Rankin, who has a much better role. So those sort of examples. But we'll move off of the forwards. We'll move into the midfielders. Oh, sorry, we'll go Ruckman real quick. Just touching on them. I don't think many people are doing Ruckmans here, but Obviously, Jackson is number one for trading targets at the moment, but that's obviously more forwards. But if you are trading in a big ruckman, of the top of the main big four guys, I'd definitely be going Brodie Grundy this week. I've changed my ways. I've looked into it a bit more, and I'm happy for you to jump on Brodie Grundy, and it's still something that I'm looking at potentially doing this week. Just with how he's been performing, he's been given more of a license to grab the ball and do what he wants with it. He's finding more of this outside chip mark, and obviously for Sydney are gonna bounce back, and now they've got a full team, they might perform a lot better. So I think they're gonna rely on him a fair bit to get the job done in the middle, and just give him a bit more of a license to have the ball in his hands. So no questioning what his run looks like. It is pretty amazing. And I do think he can put up some very big ceiling scores when it comes up against those sort of ruckmen. So I think he's definitely one you can jump on at number one. Royal Marshall I have at number two, just because he's like 80k cheaper than the rest. I don't even know where he is, but he still doesn't look right to me in my head, just the way he sort of goes about it. He's been doing okay, but yeah, not quite hitting those Royal Marshall sort of strides that we've come to expect over the last 2 years. So he's still there at number two, but still a bit hesitant. Number three, Cherry, still has a very good run, even though he's been pretty poor for the last couple of weeks. Expecting him to bounce back. It's just what he does. He's got a nicer matchup this week against Lloyd Meek. Then goes Tim English, Max Gawn, Brodie Grundy, and then it really opens up from there. So still like him as an option, but if no one's probably trading him to, not with that high break even. And then Tim English, he has the toughest run of the lot with the next four particularly. So yeah, I wouldn't be trading there at all realistically. So that is the ruckman. Charlie West, I haven't really looked into this one. Obviously, he's apparently debuting for the Pies. Been playing very good, but he's going to be playing as a tall forward, from my understanding. Maybe he does some chop out ruck work, but I'm not sure how consistent he's going to be. But yeah, the matchup definitely is pretty juicy against the Eagles straight up. So definitely could kick a few, but I think it's worth waiting a week if you can. And it also changes your flexibility a little bit if you're using him as a utility. So not sure if I'd be thinking about that one there, but I'm not going to stop other people. Let's go into the midfield line. There's some pretty big dogs in here that we all need to be targeting if you are not owners already. So that is obviously number one. I've got Nick Dacos. We all know he's a very, very good fantasy player. He has a phenomenal run for the next sort of 6 weeks. I don't see any tags coming his way unless it's some unusual ones. Maybe a Chin Cotter goes his way next weekend. I don't see one against Suns. I don't see one against Fremantle. Richmond don't even try. Maybe Josh Dunkley stands by him, but it's not really a tag. Maybe a Windhager, but they haven't been tagging for a while. So I just think he's got very little tags going on for the run home, and some very nice matchups in terms of just being able to get some big points. And we have known Nick Dacos has been putting up some very big scores. He's been known as this guy so far this year. When he's not getting tagged, he's pretty much a simple 120 plus. So you'll get a very nice reward out of him straight up this week. He should simply just be a walk-up 120. So he'll be a very nice VC option early on in the week. And I think you want to be on board. And like I said, the run is there. And he's at a nice price point just over that 100 mark. So jump on him. He is definitely part of my top 5 trade-in of the week. But he's my number 1 trade-in for midfielders this week. Number 2, I have the other man that pretty much everyone should have at this point is Jordan Dawson. He's been the number 1 midfielder for the entire year, averaging over 110 so far, and just been super consistent. When he does have a poor game, he bounces back pretty much instantly after. So I'm expecting him to have a pretty big game against Richmond off of the break. This should be very simply a 120, if not 130. Whether he spends time in midfield or goes forward, he's kicking goals. He'll be doing the whole lot. So he could easily have one of those 170 games even. So he'll be highly featured in the captains there. So he'll be a very nice C option. I think it'll be pretty straightforward this week. Most people will be going Dacos into Dawson if you are owners of both of them. I think both of them just have the ceiling to go absolutely massive. So I think you should own both of them. So if you are not owners of one of them, definitely prioritize the other one and get them in this week. Number 3, I do have Marcus Montempelli. Just the price point, obviously bounced back last week with that 120. Just getting it done at the moment. We know how good he is, and I definitely feel like he's part of the top 8 midfielders for the remainder of the season with a decent run. I'll show you that. I think it's tougher in a couple weeks' time, but Sydney this week, North next week particularly, but then Adelaide, Brisbane are tougher. But even after that, it's a nice run. So I think you might as well pick him up now while he is 950k. Jump on board. I think you'll want him long term. Number 4, we're getting to the cheaper guys, and that is Zach Butters. Plays tomorrow. I've said over the last couple of weeks that he has been getting obviously getting some attention, and that sort of came true in the last couple of weeks with only averaging just over 100, so nothing amazing. Was going massive in last week's game. I think it was on like 80 at like half time, but then just got the James Jordan tag and managed him to just sub 30 in the last half. So yeah, that was always bound to be happening. He could cop a chin cotter tag, but I think it's probably more unlikely than likely at this stage. So I think you can jump on him at his cheaper price. His break even's pretty low now, so he's probably going to go up a little bit every now and then, and he's absolutely flying. So I could easily see him having a pretty big pop game tomorrow night. But the run isn't amazing in terms of what he'll be coming up against. So yeah, that's why he's a bit further down. But the price point, what he's been doing when he's not being tagged has been pretty amazing. So he's definitely worthy of a top 5 selection. And then number 5, I still have Sam Doherty here, even though the speculation that he was going to get dropped. He has been named, but I just think he's still a cheaper option that you could potentially look at if you are not on owner so far. Obviously, that 130 last week is his potential. We know he's a very good halfback player, and this is just the role he's playing at the moment. So if you're not wanting to miss out, you could definitely still jump on if you wanted to. So being a straight mid. A couple other ones I needed to sort of speak about, I guess, was Noah Anderson. I know I've heard a lot of people speaking about him. I don't mind him as an option. Again, he just purely relies on getting like 40 touches and a couple goals to have these big scores. He does have a pretty decent run, I'll say that, particularly the next 2, Melbourne and Essendon, but it does start to drop off pretty quickly from there with Collingwood, Adelaide and Brisbane back to back. So maybe you could do a bit of a sideways shift heading into round 18 as we're entering luxury season. I don't mind that, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure he's one that you want to be holding long term. So yeah, I think if you're going to own him at all this year, then it's definitely worth jumping on this week. But you're probably not going to have him much longer after round 18, realistically. So he can be an option, but I'm not super keen at this stage. Does he cop a Viney tag at all this week against Melbourne? Potentially. Maybe an Oliver's probably more suited to him as in terms of body shape. So I could definitely see that happening. And maybe, I know Essendon haven't been doing many tags, so I doubt that's going to happen. But Durham should be back. Maybe that happens. Maybe not. Who knows? So just some flags there to show you that if you want to go there, you could. But I'm not super keen at this stage, and that's why he doesn't feature in my top 5. So wrong, I'm just a no, as I have been for the last couple of weeks, but obviously he's been a pretty good pick over the last 2 weeks, going 130 plus in both of those games, but he has the Windhager tag coming out this week, so it is very highly likely it could be an 80, so I'm just not super keen on jumping on this sort of player, and could even get a James Jordan tag the week after, so I'm just, for those reasons, I'm not jumping on. George Hewitt, particularly with the sound that Cripps is potentially out this week, could be an interesting one. The run home, I don't think is amazing. No, the next 3 particularly is pretty bad. Even the next 5 realistically isn't there. So he's way down the list in my opinion. So I wouldn't be looking there, even though he is a bit cheaper. But we know he can get the job done both in tackles and in marks, just getting around the ground. So I don't mind it if you're looking to jump on someone. But you know, you can get to a Zach Butters for a little bit cheaper, so I'll probably go there first. And I think that's pretty much about it in terms of midfielders. I'm just looking through some names here. I wouldn't be jumping on any of these guys. Heaney is interesting just because, again, Sydney Swans are going to start to become a little bit better in terms of their performances. We sort of started to see a little bit of the old Heaney from last year, particularly last week. So, yeah, if they're going to start performing a bit better, I'm expecting a bit of an increase from Heaney. So, at his price point, again, could be someone decent to jump on. But again, you could jump on a Zach Butters pretty cheap, a bit cheaper than him. So, I'd probably go in there. But that is it for the midfielders. I'll finish off with the defenders and make this one a bit shorter than normal. So obviously the defenders are pretty much where we're all targeting this week, with a lot of decent options. Obviously, I've got Nasai Wangini-Miller at number 1. If you are not an owner, he's just simply one that you should be targeting. He has been amazing for majority of the season. He's been showing that he has a high ceiling, particularly in the last 4. He's been amazing. He's not cheap, I know, but he's just someone that you want to own as he's hurting you every single week. So you might as well jump on. I don't think the matchup this week particularly is great. So he does have Fremantle as the hardest matchup, but following this week, it is fairly good. So you might as well jump on, in my opinion. So you could wait a week, but I don't see why you just won't get it done, because it will be a lot trickier to jump onto these sort of guys with only 2 trades coming on next week. So if you can do it this week, I'd be doing it. But again, I'd probably have him a little bit behind the guys like a Dawson or a Dacos who have better runs and a better price point, I'd say. So yeah, he's a very viable option here at number 1 as my defenders. A couple cheaper guys in Mills is number 2. Again, has the flexibility, playing a very fantasy relevant role off halfback, off the back of stoppages for Sydney. Again, Sydney are going to push to make finals, so they're going to need this man firing. His time on ground has been pretty elite with 85 and 90% coming back from injury. So yeah, he's just seeming to get the job done. This 96 could have been a lot bigger as well. Had a poor final quarter where he just wasn't needed, so he just didn't get the ball. So I could see it being a bit volatile in terms of his scoring, because again, he's not one that they're purely hunting to get the ball in his hands, but he is a very good ball user. And the captain of the side, so he could definitely be a very viable 90 plus averaging player. So he's still got probably 10 points of value there for us. So he is definitely within the top 5 of the week. So here's number 2 there. Number 3, I've got Josh Dacos. Again, nice matchup as Collingwood does. The only thing I don't like about him is he hasn't shown much of a ceiling. His biggest score has been a 128 and 119. All besides that have been low tons, if not sub 100. So he's just a super consistent 95 to 105 averaging player. So fingers crossed for those owners that he can go a lot bigger in some decent matchups, particularly in the next sort of 5-6 weeks. But yeah, just need to have some more ceiling scores if he's going to be pushing those top 6 guys. So I just don't see that quite happening. But if you need a cheaper guy, it's definitely a viable option back there. Coben McKercher is still a viable option if you aren't an owner of him. Again, super consistent, gone 99, 85, and 91 in his last 3 since returning back to this halfback role. Still just no marks is disappointing, but yeah, he's still getting plenty of handball receives, even sneaking forward a little bit for some couple goals last week. Tougher matchups coming against Hawthorn and Western Bulldogs, but yeah, like I said, it is opening up post that, like Caleb Daniel, so it could be a good long-term hold as a 23rd premium if you're sort of getting into that sort of playing space at some stage. So yeah, definitely a viable option at number 4. And number 5, a bit more of a unique option, is Jordan Clark. I like his next 2 matchups particularly. He's got St Kilda and then Sydney. He scored just a 61 against St Kilda last time, so I think he'll be thriving to do a lot better. It'll be interesting to see whether he cops a Windhager tag. Again, I still think he just goes to Caleb Sarong, so I think he'll be thriving, and this man knows how to find a ceiling. So we've seen him go 133, 120, 134 already this season. So he's finding that form he found last year where he was going big. And Fremantle are starting to slow it down a little bit as they're finding their way of how they're going to win and pushing for finals. So yeah, he's improving his output and he's being very influential with this ball in hand. So I like him as an option if you're looking for a cheaper guy, probably just behind Josh Dacos though in that same sort of price bracket. So yeah, that is my top 5 defenders. A couple more I should speak on. The Viking, I'm not sure I'd be paying up that much for a defender. The flexibility is nice with defender forward status, but at the end of the day, he's not going to be a huge scorer for us, I don't think. So I'm looking the other way at this stage. Bo Allen, if you're really looking for a downgrade defender option, is a pretty nice option, so I don't mind him there. But whether he plays or not is to be seen. He played his second full game before the bye, so it'll be interesting to see whether he plays this week or not. If you don't have Rosie, you can jump on him. Laird is an interesting option if you want to jump on him for 2 weeks. He's got a very nice matchup for the next 2 particularly. Even the next 4 isn't too bad for defenders, but he's just not getting it done in terms of he's not taking kickouts. Yeah, so I'm just not super keen on that one, unfortunately. He's been very consistent. You know, he's gone 260s, but everything besides that has been between 80 and 110. So very consistent, but not getting the high ceiling scores that we're looking for. It'll be interesting to see how he goes this week, though. Luke Ryan, same sort of field as Jordan Clark, but I definitely have Jordan Clark ahead of him, just being a bit more mobile. And that's probably about it, to be honest. So, to recap my top 5 trade-in targets of the week, I definitely have Tom McCarthy at number 1. I think he's just simply a must-have. As for all the same reasons that I spoke about. Low break-even, the role was amazing. The matchups, while don't look good on paper, they mean the ball's going to be down his half the entire game. So that means more kick-ins and chipping around a fair bit as well. So he should have a fairly good game and someone that we can rely on for scoring this week. So he is number 1. Number 2, I have Nick Dacos at my second pick. Just, again, he's been a very good player. He's probably going to average 110, 115 for the remainder of the year. And you definitely want to be on board for that. So, I don't see many tags coming his way for the remainder of the year. So jumping on him is a very valid option at number 2. Number 3, I've got Jordan Dawson against the next couple matchups, particularly Richmond, Melbourne, and Suns. All should be a very viable captaincy option and should find a bit of a ceiling. He's been the number 1 midfielder for the year, so you just want to own him for the remainder of the year. So jump on board at number 3. Number 4, I've got Callum Mills. Again, just the flexibility, whether he is your last premium you're getting on your field, or he's even being a 23rd premium for you heading into the luxury season. He has some money to make and can put up some very decent scores, so I definitely like him as an option. And then number 4, I had Matty Liddy. Number 5, I had Matty Liddy. Just again, a lot of people are looking to do a double downgrade this week, so it's McCarthy and Liddy are by far the 2 best options this week. So most likely one of your trades equals this man. So he is a very valid top 5 selection. Number 6, I probably having to slide Wangani Malura and so forth on there. So yeah, that is my top 5 for the week. What my trades look like, I'll be honest, guys, I haven't still figured this out, what I'm doing. I've just locked in the one trade at this stage with Clark going to Liddy. I'm still playing around with, okay, do I want to get, Grundy into my ruck by trading a Dunkley? I'm still sort of leaning that way at this stage, but we'll see how teams sort of line up. The other option I'm looking at, obviously a triple downgrade, grabbing the likes of a Dewar, if I can show you that here. Grabbing a Dewar and, potentially even a Rollinston or a May this week, just to have a little bit of money banked in the bank for next week to be able to get my final premium on the buy. Final premium on the field. But I'm just sort of working through what that sort of looks like for next week. It is a bit more risky because, again, if there are any injuries or anything like that, then I probably will be running a rookie next week. So I'm really trying to avoid that as best as possible. So it's either get my premium this week and complete my team, or run the risk and bank some coin to be able to get that that upgrade next week. So I'm still looking at all those different options. So yeah, I haven't fully completed my team, but this is my team so far. I've just got the couple on the buy at the moment. Obviously, the likes of Holmes, Smith, and Martin were staying. Johnson's looking like he's staying as well. Lohman, I could trade out. Ted Closey unfortunately doesn't have money on his head, and I'm using him as a bit of a looping option for the remainder of the year. So yeah, I think he's worth holding, but Lohman can definitely go. So that's pretty much where my team's at. I'm sorry I don't have my trades sort of locked in just yet. It's been one of the more of a tricky rounds, to be honest, and I think a lot of people are feeling that. So we'll sort of see how I go when it comes to trades later in the week. But again, final things. Keep up your looping options. There's obviously some very decent players that play early. Liddy's, for example, is a one that you could look at. So loop him in off your bench, and yeah, you see how it goes, and obviously try and maximize your rookie scores where you can, because they obviously have shown they are pretty vital when it comes to the buys. We've seen Loman go, that 80 last week, which was a nice one. We saw Finn go 80 back in round 13 or something like that as well. Even a Ted Closey as well went 80. So these scores all add up and just give you the best score you can throughout the buys. So, but I think that pretty much does it, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, thumbs up, all that sort of stuff. And I'll catch you guys for captains tomorrow if you tune in. All good, guys. Take it easy. Bye.